Hi, everyone. Let's talk about political leadership training. So, when you look at leadership, political leadership around the world, you will realize that a lot of countries treat political leadership like a lottery system. What I mean by that is if you're charismatic, wealthy, well connected, you can run for political office. But most people do not ask the real question is, are these people trained to lead? It's good that you have money, but are you trained to lead, or are you trained to govern politically, govern a government, organization? Are you trained to do that? So when you actually look at the reality of politics is you have doctors, they go through training, medical training. You have pilots, they go through thousands of hours of flying. You have military officers, they go through military training. But politicians, most of them don't come from sort of, they're not attorneys, they don't come from political science backgrounds, they don't come from public office sort of background. A lot of them come from the medical field. You have doctors, you have all these people who come from different backgrounds, and they do not have the necessary knowledge needed for them to effectively do the job that they have been they have basically won or been appointed to do. So there is a need for leadership training for politicians that is open. By open, I mean it needs to be available to people in the political field, aspiring politicians and politicians who are already in government. There needs to be information and training available for them, and not just any type of training. It needs to be structured. And the reason I'm saying this is because there seems to be a lack of a leadership pipeline, a political leadership pipeline. Because when you look at some of these terror organizations and you look at some of these Middle Eastern governments, they replace their leaders almost immediately. Their leadership pipeline is they have a very well structured leadership pipeline. Like one of them gets taken out, there's another one, and it's not their spouse. They do not replace these positions with with the wife. Sometimes they do the children, they do the son, but they have a very effective leadership pipeline. They're able to replace these leaders, and they have like 10 people available. More than, I don't know if it's 10, but they have people available who are trained to take up these positions. They have a very well designed leadership pipeline system, and that's what is missing when it comes to political leadership. These people they're replacing, who they replace, they exist when a leader is removed from a position. The people who replace this leader are normally well trained. They seem to have a lot of knowledge about the organization, even if it's a terror organization, that organization. They seem to have the knowledge necessary to be able to be in those positions. And that's what is missing, especially in a lot of, here in America, also in Africa, in a lot of the governments in Africa, because they are busy replacing politicians with their wives who are also not trained to 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 govern. So, so it's basically incompetence out, incompetence in, incompetence out. So the leadership pipeline is problematic. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. With their friends, they're replacing politicians with their friends, with their people who, basically they're connected with their children. Some of them just out of the blues, they don't know what they're doing. So there is need for political leadership training in a lot of countries. So, with that said, a lot of politicians do not come from sort of political dynasty, families that are in politics. You have Nelson Mandela, you have Abraham Lincoln, you have a lot of people who don't come from political families. So they do not have this knowledge, and they don't, and their educational background is not in politics also. So they do not have this knowledge about how the political system works, especially in the Western sort of civilization political system, like democracies. They may not have the knowledge of how the government works, who does what, who is supposed to do what are they supposed to do, what is their job. They don't have this training. So this training needs to be made public, it needs to be open, it needs to be free, so people can know what they're getting themselves into. Because you do need stamina. You do need emotional stamina to be in politics. You need emotional stamina. You need, of course, everybody's gonna be all up in your business. Some of, there's also need for media training, because if you're gonna be in the media, you may need some training on how to, be in the presence, handle journalist questions and things like, basically media training. When it comes to the job, the job that you're getting yourself into. So what I'm saying is there seems to be lack of a structured, maybe there is a training somewhere. I'm still doing my research, and once I get the information, I'll provide the information. But there seems to be sort of a gap, and that gap that is there in political leadership appears to be leadership training and a lack of a proper leadership pipeline that can bring in politicians from just different backgrounds, and also a pipeline that replaces. You have a system of, you need to have like 10 people who, more than 10, you need to have a lot of people who can replace somebody in an existing political office without having to resort to recruiting their spouses, their brothers, their sisters, their family members, because also they may have their own lives. So not everybody wants to be in politics. That's another thing. So with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll try to provide as much information that as possible that I get when it comes to leadership training. But yeah, there is a leadership training gap, and there needs to be a proper pipeline for training and recruiting leaders. Leaders should not be just showing up out of nowhere and being given a job, and they don't even know what their job is. So when and that's where sometimes you see politicians, especially in Africa, you see politicians complaining about their own job. Like you see them complaining, like somebody's supposed to build that road, and everybody's like, huh? You're the one who's supposed to look for a contractor to build that job. What do you mean somebody needs to build that, that road and stuff like that? So there is a gap there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.